Hello friends, welcome back to Innovations in Marketing and Marketing of Innovations, especially Marketing of Innovations. We have started building up a case that how differently should marketing of innovations be seen. We have the wisdom associated with marketing. We have the wisdom associated with all the elements and aspects of marketing at large. But then marketing of innovations, what specially should we do? We may debate upon that it is different or not so different, but we have to do something especially that we have seen in the preceding examples wherein we tried to build up the case, we tried to break up the story with those examples and comparisons by the same company even, wherein electronic voting machines and Akash somehow were discussed. Some other elements have been discussed, and some innovations which have now become our habits have also been discussed. We will be trying to build up this case around this similar line, taking all the elements which we have discussed in innovation of marketing along with marketing of innovations to justify, to present justifiably in front of you that marketing of innovations has some specific elements. And as I told you in my preceding sessions, that somehow because it is an innovations era, it is an era where all through we are focusing upon innovations. That is why this subject becomes more important. I would not say most important, but someday it would be most important. Someday might be when we have gone into such a situation wherein larger percentage of products they belong to the innovations category at large, then definitely this would become a new stream of marketing, wherein we would be focusing upon this as a different kind of, or let us say a complementary subject with lots of additions to it, wherein people would be, or consultants or practitioners and students like you would be referring to it with specific learning aspect, with for specific understanding, and that is the motive of discussing this subject at this moment. Let us see what complementarity can we bring in terms of marketing of innovations with reference to marketing. That is how we would build up this case around in this present session. What is marketing of innovation? Innovations we have built upon, and we will continuously be discussing that thing in my next session as well. We have talked about innovations with incremental perspective, we have talked about innovations with different references, we have talked about innovations along with digitalization and AI and those kind of things imbibed in almost everything. Today we may see mobile phones with lots of convenience, but mobile phones and mobile telecommunication and connectivity, that has bring in a change which can be termed as an era. And then there are several other things, basically there are several other aspects to it, and then there are societal innovations which bring in innovations throughout the value chain as well. I have referred to this earlier as well to you. Dan Buettner has talked about blue zones basically. If you will look into the fourth episode of that series, you would realize that Dan Buettner actually talks about developing a model around the perspective which he has developed while understanding blue zones, and then he chose a specific area in I think 1999 or somewhere, and then he developed that area with the philosophy or the perspective, scientific perspective which he learned through and through blue zones, and the recorded rise in the average age of people in that area in 1 year was 3.5 years per person. Now you see, that is where innovation comes in, innovation in almost everything, wherein they even changed the products at the shelves of the stores. They made people go for such kind of habits which are good for them. They inculcated those habits amongst people. They went for generating societal friendships amongst people. And it is very interesting when he was explaining Singapore, wherein specific ministries of Singapore, specific planners of Singapore, they actually worked upon developing such structures wherein, that was very interesting. I was watching that, and you must also watch that, although this session is not about that, but still when we are talking of what is marketing of innovation. So, convincing people to come on board when you are introducing some innovation, and that innovation may be throughout value chain. So just to give you an example, when we are focusing upon the longevity of the lives of people around, Singapore focused upon that. In 20 years they achieved it to the levels of 15 years per person, if I am not wrong. And very interestingly, elders, they stay at the top floor, wherein the rooftop is gardens for them to walk and to work there in the gardens basically, and then next floor is the health clinic, and the next floor is something else for which is to be used by them. Then downstairs it is a community place basically, some arena wherein they meet each other, and metro station is very nearby, and the complete planning. And they, the government of Singapore even went a step ahead while incentivizing people to choose places near their elders, the places to live near their elders, so that they can take care of their elders. This was a complete societal and market innovation which Singapore introduced, wherein they introduced health food on their shops, and they motivated people to consume health foods rather than packaged food. More, I am not saying packaged food is not healthy, but relatively not so as compared to the fresh food which is being sold, and we all know the oil contents and those kind of things. So that kind of a thing was introduced in the market. People were motivated to purchase those things, and sellers were motivated to sell those things, and several things were incentivized. Even they negotiated with the soft drink manufacturers to reduce the sugar content to the levels of 10 to 15 or 20% or minimal percentage in the sugar content in the soft drinks, wherein they created a policy. And they say that there is a saying in their country that policy is implementation, implementation is policy. It is wonderful basically. And you see, I am talking of complete composite innovation introduced through societal changes and market changes in a country, while introducing such innovative products, not only in terms of digital space, also in food space, also in every space, even living spaces and so on. And it was a complete composite integrated value network based kind of a change, or value web based kind of a change. It is very interesting. You watch that documentary and you would realize that that is what we are trying to do. We are compositively wondering about how to bring innovation all around us, so that we can feel that integrated change coming to us as far as the whole structure goes. What is marketing of innovation? It can be seen with the perspective of three spheres, as John DL in 2019 says, why great innovation needs great marketing, Harvard Business Review. So it is a good article, wherein first sphere is creation of innovation, the second sphere is communication of innovation, and delivery of innovation. So creation of innovation talks about identify unmet and even unknown customer needs. I would not say that longevity of life is an unknown customer need, but definitely unmet need in many of the cases, and many times people do forget that how long they can live. You see, narrative definitely changes after a while. So, and this is not the example I am going to take further, but just to generating a chord here. And then the second element here is understand the deep seated drivers of perceptions and behavior that are relevant to the product's appeal, and that is, these are the drivers I am referring to, and I would be elaborating those when I would be talking to you further in terms of different examples which would be bringing in. So drivers of perceptions and behavior, and that is precisely when you are introducing something, you have to focus upon deep seated drivers of perceptions, what we carry to develop those perceptions or to convert those perceptions, and behavior, which is a response function, and we have talked about that earlier as well. Then communication of innovation talks about engage with customers through use cases and benefits instead of functionalities and features. What other benefit a person would desire for other than a healthy, very long, happy life, based on longevity perspective, health and long life. This is what you desire for, a happy, healthy, long life, and that is precisely what we are talking of. And then one thing which very importantly, the person, probably a minister who was being interviewed in that documentary, in that series, she said that because the most important resource in Singapore was their human resource, so it made a lot of sense and a lot of it was very important for their resource to live longer actually, because that is how you would increase the productivity and participation of that resource in the economic development of as far as the whole country goes, and that is what precisely they did. So, then comes in delivery of innovation, develop the entire customer experience ecosystem, precisely what we are referring to through all these kinds of visualizations, as in the case of a city or a country or blue zones or examples which we will be talking about right now. Use a go to market strategy appropriate for the innovation and its customers. Let us see, and you see it is slightly better when we start with that what could have been done by someone. So some examples are there wherein we imagine that it was an excellent product and something else could have been done to bring that product to a larger kind of an adaptation. So, you see a groundbreaking product or service if introduced without the full force or less force of marketing, Google Glass provides a striking example here. These intelligent eyeglasses represented an impressive technological leap, but their offers valuable, they offer valuable lesson. Was it related to identifying the compelling customer needs? Somehow did the organization worked upon that, which would have driven the adaptation of the glass? That is what we call creation of innovation. We are referring to these three spheres: creation of innovation, communication of innovation and delivery of innovation. And you see, possibly it was can't live without it use cases that would motivate people to either it was not that case that would have motivated people to either overlook or find workarounds for the product's early limitations. That is communication of innovation. How you can think in terms of making this a compelling need basically. If somehow we fathom the unmet need to the right context, this becomes a compelling need at the end of the day, and that is how we can project this thing at the at those kind of levels. We have seen that in EVM's case or Akash case, and then healthcare cases, in country cases, in blue zone cases, in some other products cases and so on, Amazon's cases, and then several other cases which we have talked about. Even if you look into some of the courses which became sort of compulsive for people to choose at the end of the day to boost up their careers and so on, and hopefully these kind of courses may also be that useful if we are positioning these rightly in front of you. You see, this kind of a course which we are talking about here at this moment is not just for the people who would like to pursue management and marketing and go for professional gains. We should be discussing all of these things with almost every person we are talking to. We should be talking about these things to the entrepreneurs, the shop owners, the street vendors, everyone, so that everyone should follow on as far as the introduction of innovations in marketing and marketing of innovation. Some innovative products can be generated and then they can focus upon as far as the whole situation goes. Some street vendors like this Golgappa, Puchka. So this can be marketed with a different kind of an innovative perspective. Some product innovation can be done, and so on. So general product like those, and we have gone a far way in terms of as far as different kinds of recipes for different kinds of products, and food we have done so much, and so many things we are trying more and we are trying harder and so on. E-rickshaw is one of the most important adaptation which we have gone through in times to come, in the recent times I should say, and there are several other products which I commend when I look at them on the streets. So, moreover, initially limiting the product to a select group of glass explorers, mainly comprising tech enthusiasts and journalists, important in the industry, but not necessarily aspirational role models for mainstream consumers. Here we have to be careful. people do follow influence, and we have talked about that in consumer behavior and those kind of things when we were referring to those things in consonance with innovations in marketing. So, here we have to focus upon people who have that kind of a direct influence on the target customers which we are focusing upon. So, you see, not necessarily aspirational role models, these were people who could generate influence in at large, but not on the customers. So, that would have hindered the creation of a robust and enduring market for the product. That might have been the reason. So, consequently, Google had to discontinue Glass less than 2 years after its launch, delivery of innovation. Sometimes when I am looking about these kind of examples and products, I presume somehow that we could have been more persistent also. Google is an intelligent organization, they would have done every cost analysis and they would have looked into almost every element of adaptation of this kind of a product, but somehow as a consumer and as the student of marketing and strategy and product and innovation, these kind of subject areas. So, I feel that somehow we could be more persistent, we could have slightly changed the target, we could have thought of people way aside whom we were targeting. We could have thought of blue ocean perspective also, we could have thought of holistic marketing perspective also, we could have thought of only Google employees at large using it first before going to others and so on, and then software industry. We could have thought of engineering students, aspirants for Google kind of companies and so on. We could have thought of so many things. I am not sure if I am absolutely right or wrong. So, does the Google Glass narrative reminds us of another case we previously examined? Yes, we have examined several such cases, and so then just I am unfolding whatever we are discussing at this moment. So, strategic upstream marketing that is incorporated into the innovation development process can clearly define who to sell the new offering to and how to sell it in ways like this. First is identify unmet and even unknown customer needs. Many times needs are known also, but they are unmet, but largely if somehow we look into how well the customer knows the needs and how far those are not unmet. Customers would have been using things which somehow they have been adapting, and they never knew that much better could be done to them. For example, we conducted a very long research on the levels of healthcare to be provided to the customers basically, and we found out that patients as customers do not realize what best health standards they can get at the ground level. They only feel that health bears costs. And again referring to the same series, there is an episode on when Costa Rica achieved one of the highest levels of longevity or average age, if I am not wrong, in that documentary, wherein with much less a cost through preventive care. So, they created these ambassadors who would be visiting people at their homes and discussing with them what preventive measures are they taking with in terms of health care, and that was very less cost as compared to the health care which is required post disease. So, that is how Costa Rica is a big example. Costa Rica may not be found to be one of the richest countries in the world, but definitely they focus upon this kind of a thing through healthcare. And we talked about one example wherein Brazil, for example, when they saved cost through EVMs, they focused upon healthcare. So, those kind of elements are there. So, identify unmet and even unknown customer needs. Frequently individuals are unaware of their need for a groundbreaking innovation that is entirely new to them. Sometimes they have been accustomed to use a makeshift solution or a subpar substitute for such a long time that they are oblivious to the possibility of an alternative. We just do not imagine that there can be an alternative, or even if it is there in front of our eyes, we just sort of are so habituated, we seldom look at it with the perspective of its usability and intensity. The other day one of my friends gave me an assignment to structure something which I had to write in a long number of words, larger words and a paper, and then it was discussed that it would take a couple of days, wherein I would need. After 45 minutes, I called my friend and I told that I have written 600 words. I told you earlier also, MS Office 365 is magical in those kind of terms. So, 600 words in just 30 minutes, extremely structured and so on. Take for instance the era before smartphones, when people accepted the need to wait and use their computers for internet access and email, and this is precisely what we are talking about. This was also not so easily acceptable to people at the end of the day. Today people always wonder and talk to me that you are not on social media. So people just want to communicate on WhatsApp. How easily they have adapted that, but it took some time. Therefore, rather than making assumptions about prospective customers and their requirements, marketing can play a crucial role in discovering entirely fresh or diverse customer segments for innovation teams to explore. That is how innovation teams have to work. And when we are talking about changing the mental and social structure of a city, it's entirely a different kind of a perspective. What kind of training programs we have to go for, what kind of marketers mindset we have to change, what kind of adaptation mindset we have to change amongst people. And whenever I am talking about this subject of longevity, remember one thing: our targets are people who have lived their life to an extent where behavioral response is very difficult to be changed actually, if they are habituated of something basically, and then that is wonderful. One very precise example which was demonstrated in that documentary was that a person who was diagnosed with a fatal disease where he was living, he went back to his home, and that his home was somewhere in the blue zone itself, which was the factor of the study. This person was aging 66 years of age, and when he was interviewed by the author, he was already 90 plus or nearing to 100 or sort. The fatal disease just went away, and that is the magic of adaptation in terms of as far as whole of things go. But this person never knew this with the perspective of usage. This person actually went and adapted at the last stages. If we can do it beforehand, that would be much better. So, here comes an important lesson which we should remember. As marketers focusing upon the unmet needs, but those unmet needs which marketers are focusing upon, and I strongly recommend to the marketers as well, those unmet needs should be associated with the benefits of the society and the benefits of the people actually. And people should also focus upon precisely those things which are beneficial to them for long term, and that is how innovation actually justifies its purpose in terms of its own longevity, its own relevance. And that is why at the end of the day we would be talking about marketing in terms of innovation, wherein I would be referring to an article which is good, wherein the author talks about that marketing should be seen with the perspective of being responsible for innovation, and that is how things are. So, then comes in needs, because we have talked about unmet needs and unknown needs. So, needs are the basic human requirements, and this is just a recap to you. You can find these things in the book which we are referring to here, Philip Kotler, Marketing Management 15th edition, Pearson Education. So, needs are the basic human requirements such as for air, food, water, clothing and shelter. Humans also have strong needs for recreation, education and entertainment. We can distinguish 5 types of needs largely, as the author says. Stated needs: the customer wants an inexpensive car. Real needs: the customer wants a car whose operating cost, not initial price, is low. Probably this is the example which they have given, you can fit in anything basically. Unstated needs: the customer expects good service from the dealer. Delight related needs: the customer would like the dealer to include an onboard GPS navigation system. And secret needs: the customer wants friends to see him or her as a savvy customer. So, largely this is the needs sphere, and we are talking of unmet needs and unknown needs. You see, and coming back to this unmet and even unknown customer needs, and rest of the 2 elements I would be talking about in my next session, but I would be focusing upon these unmet needs and unknown needs here. So, you see, spring free trampoline In 1989, Keith Alexander, a New Zealand based mechanical engineering professors are usually like that. They look into the details and the nitty-gritties of everything basically. So, in 1989, this intelligent professor, Professor Keith Alexander from New Zealand, from the field of mechanical engineering, had a desire to purchase a trampoline for his daughter. Trampoline is that, that thing wherein you jump on that. So, however, his wife expressed concerns about their safety, believing that trampolines pose a risk. They do, basically you jump high, and if you are somehow disbalanced you may fall down. So, determined to change her perspective, he embarked on a mission to persuade her, only to discover that her concerns were justified. His research revealed that trampoline related injuries were increasing actually. So, he looked into the data, he looked into the elements related to trampoline and so on, and here a father wanted to submit to the desire of the daughter and the mother was more conscious. So, father had to justify, and he was a professor, he wanted to justify, he was unable to justify, and then he looked into the data. I would be talking about these kind of things in detail in as far as research for marketing of innovations. So, delving deeper into the data, Professor Alexander realized that many incidents previously considered random accidents were in fact the result of specific product features. A mechanical engineering person, an intelligent professor understands these. So, the presence of metal springs and frames, trampoline is associated with metal springs on as far as the outer ring goes, as well as the absence of any protective enclosure to prevent falls. Armed with this insight, he designed a trampoline that eliminated the need for springs and incorporated a mesh enclosure, transforming what was once a niche market into a thriving global industry. And the structure here is demonstrative of that kind of an innovation which he focused upon, a very intelligent change which converted trampoline into a safe playing equipment, may I say. So, you see the reference is given at the base of the slide, and wherein it is related to identifying unmet and unknown needs as far as the situation goes. Volvo also did these kind of things when they focused upon unmet and unknown needs. Volvo had long established its reputation for building safer cars by introducing numerous features, and this is very intelligent. This is a very good example that eventually became industry standards. And you see, that is how we innovate and look for encompassing whole of the value chain as well as the market itself. So, however, about a decade ago, the company shifted its focus towards a different group of road users, cyclists. When you drive, cyclists are going on, somehow they are not so safe in the presence of the high speed cars. By the year 2010, Swedish insurance data had begun to reveal a troubling trend, which is very rampant in India as well. I do not have any specific data on that, probably I will try to fetch this. So, cyclists were accounting for a higher proportion of casualties compared to any other category of road users. That revealed new and unmet safety needs, prompting Volvo to respond with a series of automotive innovations aimed at safeguarding all individuals on the road, not limited to just those inside the cars. And you see, these innovations included bike detection sensors. Now, these are very important things, and automatic braking systems, external airbags. External airbags is a wonderful innovation which Volvo did, as well as sensors capable of detecting signs of driver fatigue, distraction or impairment and intervening accordingly. In a unique twist, some of these advancements were designed to prevent harm to wildlife as well. Very important thing basically. You see, in India we have similar such problems associated with us. For instance, Volvo's radar based technology enables drivers to see up to 300 meters ahead day or night and automatically detects the shapes of animals such as deer, elk, moose and other large creatures as they enter the vehicle's path. We desire for such kind of innovations. Whenever I personally drive on super highways, recently I was driving and I was sort of having this kind of a fatigue, and I can tell you with conformity, and you may also confirm that these kind of things are very important to save lives and to save lots of damage to so many people who are not actually involved in one of the drivers fatigue. So I will leave you with this thought of identifying unmet and even unknown customer needs. I wish you may bring in those kind of examples which you are looking around with this reference, and I will coming back to you with two other elements which we are yet to discuss in my next session. Till then, goodbye.